Guess what? We're back. And this time we have actually brought a guest with us. And, Charles, after our last podcast, we spoke a lot about ourselves, but then, we said, how about we actually bring a guest, someone who can inspire, someone who's just, an ordinary person, but doing extraordinary and inspiring things that we can then share their story with everybody else. And I think it was a no-brainer for who we have here today. But if I can just do a very quick introduction of this person from my lens. I met this person, Johann, about 4 years ago. And I think from the onset, I was kind of inspired, like little by little, every single day that I interacted with you. It was, how you show up every single day for people, the person that you are, the morals, the values that you have, how centered you are around your family, and just, how you care for people, and the vulnerability that you show, which is not really shown often, particularly by men, and that you've just always been there for me. And 2 years into our relationship, if you want to call it that, you just humbly dropped that you were like a star athlete in South Africa. And I was like, Johann, why don't you lead with us? I'd be like, hi, my name is Johann and I run 100 meters in 10 seconds. And, even then I was like, my goodness, you're such a humble human being that this is not even something that you talk about and not something that you share with people. And then, 2024, you came and you said to us that you were going to do this 250-kilometer race. We'll talk about that. And, came 2025 and you did it. And the marathon is Marathon des Sables. I might be pronouncing it incorrectly, but it's a really, really tough, enduring race that you did. And when you came back and you told some of the stories, I was completely blown away and even more inspired by you as a human being. So, that's my lens, but maybe you can just share with listeners on who you are and actually just share a little bit more about what is this race and what is it about?
Sure. Firstly, thank you for that introduction. That's quite an introduction. I'm not sure if I'm that extraordinary, but thank you. No, really, it's what a privilege to be here. So, to your point, so my name's Johann, as you've mentioned, and I do come from quite a sporty background in general. So you asked, what is the Marathon des Sables? So the Marathon des Sables is a 250-kilometer run in the Sahara Desert. It is done in April. So you always have the elements of heat and so forth that goes with it. I have to say this year was the stage, or was the race with the most sand ever. So it was proper desert that you had to.
What does that mean? So the most sand. What is? Is it the route? Is it the?
So when it comes to route, so of course there's a lot of different terrain that you run on. So there's a lot of rocky areas, then a bit of gravel in this. But this year it was a lot of soft sand that you had to run in. So it was really tough from that perspective. But I think what makes it a tough race, it's a self-supported race. So I think one of the biggest things with Marathon des Sables is 250 Ks self-supported. So what does that mean? It means you run with everything on your back. So all your food, everything you carry with you for the 7 days. The only thing you get is water. So that is quite the journey, and I think that was quite the toughest. That's the thing that really makes it quite a tough event. But yeah.
And you mentioned that, you've always been into sports and athletics and all of that. And, you've done some tough races before. But what made you sign up for this? When you saw it, tell us how, did you see it and you were like, this is what I need to do, 250 kilometers in desert sand. And just for anyone, I can't even walk my dogs up a hill in a sand dune, by the way.
There's always interesting stories about why you sign up. I signed up once for an Ironman. That was after a late night. I regretted that a bit. But look, I think as a kid, and it's a funny story with the Marathon des Sables, as a kid, and you guys might relate, it was always something back then. You had Supersport and you had Mnet on Channel 7 and Supersport on Channel 8.
I remember.
And the Marathon des Sables, when I was a kid, was actually broadcasted at that time.
No ways.
And so it's always something that fascinated me for many years. And a few years ago, me and my brother, we ran, they call it the Hajar 100 here in RAC, We did a 100-kilometer run through the mountains over here. And then one day I phoned him. I said, look, let's push ourselves a little bit more and let's go do this marathon, the Marathon des Sables. And he said, fantastic, all in, just to find out that he's not in. and then it was just me. So that's pretty much one of the reasons as well why I want to do it. You know, me and my brother, we share quite a special things together. But as I say, unfortunately, he didn't join for this journey.
One day.
For sure.
I feel with this podcast, there's now a challenge between your brother.
100%.
Invite him to really join in next
time. If
time.
he's listening, you know, you up your game a bit, but
absolutely. No, that's how you want to think. We all say that life also is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So to tie back into kind of our theme of our Mavericks and Mimosa kind of theme we have there, it's all about being unconventional. And well done, first of all, on finishing it. I've seen your pictures and tremendous comments on this fantastic achievement. But I think we wanted to invite you to also understand really the why behind it, essentially. And then the emotional side of it and your journey in this marathon, essentially. So you said it's about yourself, but you are part of many people, right? From the training, the preparation, family and support. But those 7 days, that was you, wasn't it?
Correct. And I think the biggest thing with this is I think a lot of times you do things for other people, you know, and I think that's just one of the biggest lessons for me was, you know, why do you do things? Is it to show? Is it to be accepted? Is it to be perceived differently, perceived in a certain mold or something that you think about yourself or you want people to think about you? And I have to say this journey is one of the first journeys that I really said, I don't really care. You know, it's all about me. And it sounds a little bit selfish when you say it that, but see it in the light how I say it. It was a bit of an inward focus. And to be honest with you, I didn't even train with other people, not once. This whole journey I did by myself because for the main reason was it was so nice just to spend time with myself. You know, there was nothing better to go for runs and training and you in your own head, you know, I did a run one day in the desert. It was quite hot and I did a 7-hour run and as a training run. And it was so, you know, I started at 3 o'clock and I ended like at night, but it was so nice just to be in your own head, you know, and you know, it's just you, this road, and you talk to yourself. But that was for me the biggest thing with this. And to come to the 7 days, you know, you realize you get to learn yourself a lot better and who you are as a person. And this is what really transformed me in this journey. I really got to know myself, to be brutally honest.
Wow.
So before we get into that, and you know, let's start with the training. So you briefly touched on, you know, one of the runs that you did, but this is not something that you can just wake up one day and decide, oh, like I'm going to go run in the desert. So tell us about the training and the preparation. So from the physical side, from the mental side to the emotional side, what is it that you did over however many months that it was to actually fully prepare you for this race? And also, you know, how did you take your family along? Because, I mean, this is quite an enduring thing and it takes up a huge amount of your time. And I know, you know, wife, 3 kids, you know, it takes a toll on them as well. So take us through that journey.
Look, 100%. First, I want to say I've got a fantastic wife that's very supportive. And I think
really
that's so important that you have your family's backing. And also my kids, you know, I always think you set an example for them as well, you know. But to answer your question, so from a training perspective, for me, I come from a running background. So running for me is like a second nature. But the one thing that I found with this race was all about the mental thing. You know, is because when you're in this race, it can go up to 50 degrees. You don't know what to expect. You know, while we were running, honestly, the wind was just horrible. It was the conditions at some stage were like cheese. So for me, it was more about a mental thing. So that's why I've done these 7-hour runs. That's why I've trained in certain conditions just to get me mentally intact, you know. So on the training week, I will do anything from 80 to 100 kilometers roughly, just to get into the training of it. But there's a few things that I did that really changed my mind, or that changed my mindset. So I went again into the mountains. So after work on a Friday, I will get in my car and I will drive up the mountains by myself. I would sleep in the back of my truck. And as I got there, I usually get there by 5 o'clock. I would get out and I would go run down. So the mountain elevation it's like I think it was 1,000 meters elevation in a very short period. So I would be running down to the entry points, roughly 10 Ks, and then run back at night, and then you up that elevation again. And then I'll sleep there the night by myself. And the next morning I'll get up and I'll do the same run. But just mentally pushing yourself and really being in that, in your own space, that for me was key for this preparation. It's got a funny story. So the one day I went up there, and as I came back from my morning run, got into my car, put everything back in the car, and it was quite hot, to be brutally honest. And as I tried to open my door, I don't know how it happens, my key is locked in my car. So how do you bring your family on that journey? Well, you phone your wife to drive all the way to Russell Khaimah to come and unlock your door.
Which is like an hour's drive away to come out.
So that wasn't the best thing, really. But yeah, so a lot of great stories that went with it, to be honest.
So I have a follow-on question, because the one thing we talk about a lot is like how to mentally prepare yourself. But the one question I always have is, how do you mentally prepare yourself? What are some of the things that you tell yourself? What are some of the self-talk that actually happens when you're doing this? And when you're training for it, and I know we'll get into the reality a bit later, but is it kind of like what you expected? Is it like, okay, maybe I should have changed things a little bit? But what goes through your mind to prepare yourself for that?
Look, good question, and I think there's a lot of answers to that as well. But I think one of the main thing is, and I've wrote about that, is what goes through my mind is to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I had to do these things, like these trainings, to really get my mindset in a place where I can adapt to being uncomfortable. So it may be a stupid thing, but you wear the same clothes for 7 days. Now imagine running 250 kilometers in the same clothes.
Charles would die.
Even me, to be brutally honest. So it was these types of things that I mentally just had to prepare myself, just to because it's the small things that can really get into your mind. So if those negative thoughts get into your mind, it has a massive impact on everything else. So for me, it was really just to get over those uncomfortable things and really train my mind with the uncomfortable things. And then just to get to the position of, yes, you just let go, whatever happens. And just have the continuous positive thinking. Because it's all look, the running is not the thing, to be honest.
Yes, it becomes here.
Yes.
250 kilometers, yes, it's far, but for me, that was the easier thing. It was the thing around it that I had to manage the most. It's this emotional things and the uncomfortableness around it that I had to manage the most. So, yeah.
That truly is amazing. I think today it's so easy to say, let go, or come over it, or train for something mentally. But there's no tools for that, right? So to say that and to action that, I think, is growth, number one. And to do that as a father, as a person in a very good job, career-wise as well. And still, at a young age, you still decided to do that. So again, kudos to that. Because also the let go part, I think for me, is quite essential. So when you're in that space of getting in your car, going to a desert in a mountain essentially, but to decide to do that weighs more than the actual, like you say, running and the activity. And yes, 7 days in the same clothes.
Shaw would have done 7 hours in the same clothes. Never mind 7 days.
But so apart from the mental and the physical, in terms of the race itself, you said it's self-supported. So you had some gear or the flights and the camping and where do you sleep. Give us some, like a zoom in of a typical day.
Look, it's not 5-star. to start off with. That I can assure you. So
There goes Jolene.
not for you, John.
Entrance.
So you have, they call it a bivouac. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. They call it a tent just for it being a bit easier. But it's literally just a sheet over the top and you sleep underneath it. And there's like a mat that you sleep on. So you are 8 people sleeping on a mat, essentially.
At least you all smell the same.
You all smell the same. But the big thing with that is, even leading up to this is having the right gear. So you cannot believe the stress the gear brings, because you go there, you don't know what the elements are going to be. But in the same breath, you run with that backpack on your back, so you don't want to carry too much weight. So you need to be very mindful what you take with. And as you get to the camp, when you get off the bus, and it's quite a travel there, to be brutally honest. But when you eventually get there and you get off the bus, you have your whole kit still with you, all your bags and everything. So then you have a day or two just to decide what you're going to keep and what you don't. Let me tell you, it's so stressful, because you continuous in your mind, yes, I maybe I need it, but you have to carry it. But maybe I
don't need it. What happens if I leave it behind, and then what am I going to do?
100%. And a lot of people just chuck the things away at the end because they realize, man, it's just too heavy. And I can get into that a bit later. But so that decision making was quite a tough thing. So it was so nice when you let your bag go and okay, this is my gear and I'm set.
And you've made that choice. I mean,
you made the choice. It's final because yes.
And food. I mean, do you pack like snacks or?
So I had this
electrolytes.
I had this army food, if you can call it that.
Yes.
You boil the water and you put it into the bag and you shake it and you let it rest for a few minutes and then you eat it. So you eat out of the bag for a whole week.
It sounds amazing, actually.
No, but I think Johann's making it sound really easy. But I remember when we spoke, you have to take your own water as well, right?
So no, you get water, but you only get limited water. So you don't have endless water. So as you get to camp, you get 1.5 liters of water. 5 liters of water, and that's it. So with 5 liters, you have to do everything,
washing everything,
and it also needs to fill your bottles for the next day up till the first checkpoint. So the first thing you do is 3 liters go into your bottles. So you sit with 2 liters pretty much that you have left to make all your food and everything for that day. So you need to be very mindful of how you use your water. And then you need to cook your food, So literally you there with your little stove, get your pot on and
you carried with you,
that you carried with you. Boil your water, but to come back, a funny story. When I was there, I took the responsibility in our team about making fire, and it was the reason why I did it, because when I got there, I said you need a purpose, and it's funny how the moment you go into survival mode, because that's pretty much where you are. You're stripped of everything. Everyone is dirty. Everyone is there's no rules anymore.
By your own choice. Maybe add that.
I said I'm going to take the responsibility of making the fire, and automatically you had a responsibility towards the group and everyone. And what was great about that is just the camaraderie that goes with it. So now you become the fire guy.
Yes.
And,
so South African.
And when you wake up, everyone, Johann, can you boil my water? Here's my water. But you've got a purpose. And if you've got a purpose, these are the things that takes you through the race. Because if you give up, who's going to make the fire? It sounds stupid, but it's these little things that. But yeah, to answer your question, so prepare your own food. You literally eat out of a bag, man. It was quite something for me to get used to. It was something we get used to, the food, to be honest. But it's funny, as time goes, you care less about the taste. You just eat for the sake of eating. I made one big mistake to anyone who listens, who wants to go do the race. I took too little like jelly sweets and things like that. I had proper food. And for that, you need preparation time. But when you're on the road, you don't want to stop and then make a fire, prepare. You don't have time for it. So, but the great thing, there were people en route that will maybe spare you a gummy sweet here or give you something here or give you that. So there's a lot of camaraderie that was on. But it's one of the things that I would change, to be honest.
Wow. And a quick question, but did you braai also?
No, I wish. I brought a packet of food.
You're going to run with fresh meat on your back.
I wish I could, to be honest. There was a few camels there.
That you're ready to put on the right. So if you had to break it down day by day, because obviously you were running a certain amount of kilometers a day, take us through every single day. Like day one, this is how I would imagine it. Day one, you're like super motivated. You've got this 10 kilograms on your back. You're going. You made this decision to do the fire. Day two, you're like, oof, my feet are a bit sore. Like, ooh, day three, I'm a bit stiff. This is how I imagine it to be, but it's probably way worse. So take us through like a day by day account of how you felt emotionally, mentally, physically, everything that you went through.
So, just to put things in perspective quickly, so as I say, it's a stage race. So every day you run X amount of kilometers. So day one will be 30, then again 30, then you have 40, and then you've got the long stage, and then you've got 40 again, and you've got 20. So it's broken up in stages. So day one was quite an interesting day for me, because also what leads up to day one is you train hard, and then all of a sudden you are in this period of relaxing a bit and getting ready and traveling and all of this. You become a little bit lethargic, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know? So day one, it was a
little bit. Never mind.
We call it mind games.
So day one was quite an interesting day for me. I had an okay run. I had a very good first 10Ks. I really pushed hard. I still remember, because the excitement's there. To your point, you're hyped about the thing. It's something you dreamed about, so you're there. And then all of a sudden, I think this was the toughest thing about the whole marathon. The sub is you get to a stage where you can see the end line, but it's freaking far away. It's still like 10 kilometers away, and there's nothing worse seeing stuff and you still have to run so many miles to get there. So on the first day, like 20 Ks in or so, it really became very hot. And that's where I talk about the back. So my back, it was like 10.8 that it weighed, and then you still run full water. So it gets up to 13 Ks, your backpack. And
That's insane. Imagine that.
And my shoulders was just killing me. Honestly, my shoulders was killing me. Like, one of those where you still try to support, you run and you put your back out of it. It was just so sore. And I actually got a bit worried, to be honest, about how on earth am I going to do this thing? So day one was good, but it was also a bit of a rethink, a test on, okay, what do I take out of my bag? So I went into day two with a little bit of a different strategy. And day two strategy was, let me go. Sorry, I think it was 40 Ks day two. So day two was every checkpoint, I'm just going to quickly take my bag off. But if you look at my bag, man, it was quite a mission to put it back on again. So, but I did it, and it helped a lot just with saving your shoulders. So day two went okay as well. But day two, there was a few tough moments, to such an extent. So after a race, you had the ability for one-way communication. And it was a great thing for me. I on purpose left my phone. I didn't want two-way communication, to be honest. For a week, I just wanted to be myself and just share. And that's the day that I said to my wife, and I sent her a note. We had these boxes where you can send communication. I'm like, oh my goodness,
what have I done?
what have I done? But for one other reason, that night, made food, all of that, I just had this energy the next day. So the next day when I woke up on day three, I just felt fantastic. And also my tent mates, a lot of them are phenomenal runners. The one guy ran the Comrades, he ran it now in 7 hours. So he got a silver medal. I was really surrounded by phenomenal runners. So on day three, and if they're going to listen to it, they don't know it. So the first time they'll hear it. I used to be always the third or fourth guy coming into the tent. And I thought, no. I'm going to push. Today I want to be the first guy in the team. Now, there was one guy I will never beat. He's too fast. But, and that third day, I just pushed, man. I felt so good. It was a 32K run, and I smashed it. Honestly, I smashed it. But the problem that I made is in that I hurt I can feel my knee starting. And that was the biggest mistake. Because the following day was the long day. Now the long day is the 82 kilometer.
That's a lot in one day.
And that's a lot in one day.
Bearing in mind it's in the desert. So, I mean, maybe just to interrupt that quickly. So if you do an 80 kilometer on the road, how long would it take you versus how long it actually took you in the desert? Just to give that bit of context of how different it actually is.
Yeah, look, the guys ran the comrades now. And so, you know, when you look at those types of times, you run everything from 10 to 12 hours, even like a normal athlete. But that day I ran, I think, 17 hours. So it was a long day out. It was a long day out with a lot of different stages, you know. So I started off very, very well. And then you have this stage where you literally climb up a dune with a rope. You know, that's how steep it is. And then you free off, and that's where I started feeling my knee. So I really pushed a bit too hard in the beginning. And that was quite tough because midway in, man, my knee was a bit busted, to be honest.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, you rethink your strategy because now you start thinking, do you go slow? All of a sudden, the time it takes is so much longer, you know. And look, you got 36 hours to complete it, so you can walk it if you want to, but it's a long time to be out there. And this is why I came up with this thing that every step counts. But it needs to be a calculated step. And it's so true because if you go too fast, you get tired. If you go too slow, you also get tired because it takes so long. So when I was there, I just trotted through it. And where I could run and push through, I really tried to do it. But what happened after the 60 Ks, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was, I don't know, for one other reason, there was just this kind of a negative thought that got into my mind, you know. And all of a sudden, you from this high and yes, it took one negative thought and then another and another and another, and it was just a downward spiral from there. And I literally had just to shake myself out of that mindset and just get myself back into it. And thank goodness I managed to do it. And then it was just push, you know. It was just push to the end, you know, because it was such a rocky end. So now you need to think your feet's full of blisters. You sore, and now you keep on running on these rocks, and it was quite a thing. But then I remember on day 4, as we came in, there was this sandstorm and rain that started, and I've never seen something of it. You should actually see the videos. It was to such an extent that you can't see anything. You know, it was already pitch dark, and it was just enclosed with sand and rain. And it was actually nice because then my headlight didn't work. Well, can you believe it? Of all times.
Of all things, yeah, now's not the time.
And even load shedding in a desert.
Yeah, load shedding in the desert. So the great thing is the guy in front of me was from Belgium, Belgian guy. He waited for me. So he took out his security or his blanket, his rescue blanket. And he waited for me until I get to him, and then he kind of showed the way just to get back to camp. So that was a good experience, and then you have another 40 Ks after that. So got back after the 82. It was quite a long day, and then in the 42, it was quite a strange experience because when you run the 42, you're almost in a mindset of okay. It's done now.
It's just nothing compared to 80.
It's almost
just 10 hours, not 17 today. Hallelujah, I'm fine.
You just push through it, and that's exactly what I did. Honestly, you're tired, you're a bit over it. It's been a long time, but your mind is just in the thing of, you know, I always believe in something. When you're more than halfway, it even takes longer to go back. So you might as well just finish it. And so that was the thing, you know. So it literally just that day is just pushing through. Great scenery, though. Not a great dunes. I need to show you a few of the photos. It's fantastic scenery. So a good day, but quite a special thing there. And sorry, I'm going into too much detail maybe. But so on that day, they gave us well, actually just the day before, because the long stage is over 2 days. Because a lot of people literally takes 36 hours to come in. So the quicker you come, then you have almost a rest day afterwards. And that day, they actually brought us a Coke, believe it or not. And you cannot believe
How amazing.
how amazing a warm Coke is.
It's like the best thing I've ever had.
After 4 days of running, it was just phenomenal. So I just had to put that in there. It's just something that pops in. But yeah, I was on a 42. So finishing that second to last day is just, as I mentioned, it's just something you do. And for one other reason, the toughest night for me was that night, because you're over it. So now you need to think you only sleep for 4 hours every night, 3 to 4 hours. That's what you sleep on average. So you're tired, you're dirty every night. The wind is just unstoppable. It's just wind. So as you sleep, it's in your sleeping bag, on your face. It's everywhere the whole night, the whole time. It's honestly, I don't want wind anymore. And so that night at 2:00, I got up. I walked out of my tent. I was just not in a good space. And I was just, man, I almost just wanted to stay awake, to put on my shoes, just to run the last 21, just to get home.
It's like, so not yet, you still need to wait.
And that was great. So got up in the morning, a little bit over it, made my food. I'll be honest, and sorry to everyone who was there, but I didn't even make a fire. The fire guy was over it. It was everyone for themselves.
Forgiven. I mean, honestly.
And finished the last day, and that was a journey. It's a bit of a detail now, but that was pretty much the journey.
No, I think the detail is the good stuff. And
Yes.
I mean, I saw the video of you when you crossed over the finish line. Your
Yes.
knees were strapped, you were pushing through, and there was so much emotion. You could see that you had been through like a really tough time. And I think one of the other things that you mentioned to me, which you didn't share earlier, was you mentioned that you were in pain, but like what you had to do because of the blisters and stuff that you got on your feet. Maybe you could just share some of that. And also you shared some stories of, why people had entered this race and, how much closer everybody got, and like that Belgium guy that stopped for you and waited for you, but you learned so much about other people as well. It'd be great if you could share some of that as well.
Look, I think everyone does this race for a different reason, or did this race for a different reason. And it was profound when you're on the road, if you can call it that. The people you meet and the camaraderie, because a lot of people there is not professional athletes, but it's people with a story. And I remember
Nice. Yeah, it's very inspiring.
I remember there was this guy, and I spoke to you about it. So
Where the onions come.
So we were running, and
Sorry, crew, onion, please.
and even myself, I was a bit. It was really. I still remember like it was yesterday. It was this stage where, yes, man, the sand was so thick. So for every step you're giving to the front, you're almost 2 steps back. And it's like a grayish sand. It was just this thick sand that you're in. And it was hot. And you're like, what are you doing? And on this road, I met this guy. I think his name was Bill. And we were talking. And now you start. And he actually gave me a gummy. Believe it or not. So
Only one.
He was my best friend.
It's better than the Coke.
to be honest. So then you start talking, why do you do these things? But just kind of find a connection. And so he said, no, he made he kind of spoke about his story. So about why he did this thing. And his story is, he said he did it for a bet that he actually did with his father. And I was like, okay. And his father, unfortunately, had suicidal notions. And he said to his dad, look, so if you're going to do something that's stupid, then I'm going to do something that's so stupid you go run the marathon the sun.
Okay. So you wanted them to counter that.
So he said to his dad, if you want to do something stupid, I'm going to do something stupid. And literally then after that, his father unfortunately took his life. And so he literally went and just after that then enrolled for the marathon the sub. And that's why he ran, that was his story. And it was very profound, just, you almost, when you're there, you're like, yo.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you realize, as I said, everyone does it, there's so many stories about people. I watched it now actually subsequently about a lady that did it. She actually had cancer, breast cancer, and she stopped the chemo to go run this. And why because she just wanted to show herself, that she can push through these things, that she's bigger than these things, And but I think there's another story that just really stood out to me. So I was sitting in camp, and it's this guy. He's from the US, but he's Puerto Rican. He's a short guy, and he came in. It's just, and the tears are just flowing down. And he said, man, I saw my dad today, and he was just crying, and I was like, okay. And he said, yeah, and his dad passed. So his dad passed away like a year ago, and he said today he saw his dad on the run. He felt him there. And that things like that just really, it just touches you, and you just, and that's the beauty about these things, That's why I said to you, you do these things because you grow as a person. It's not 250 kilometers is one thing, but I think there's a lot of things inside of yourself that you just deal with and that you just that you think about when you're on the road.
Exactly,
and phenomenal.
To me, it sounds like this tremendous world or journey for 7 days where you dig out your own gold again, you find that pure self again, and also you create your own tools. That's what I've now been kind of gathering from you. You can have all the tools in the world, the gear, the food, a tent, wood for a fire, but that profound 7 days actually unlocked within yourself the tools to shift your mind, isn't it? At the right time, and it was ideal for you essentially. So
100%.
You can't buy this, right?
100%.
In fact, you paid for the suffering. You love suffering.
And you traveled so far, and
Yeah.
But what is profound is and I really try. I think the biggest thing is how do you hold on to those memories? It's important to go write it down because you forget.
It's true.
But what
Hence
was
our podcast.
No, 100%. But what is profound is it really strips you from. It brings you back to nothing, and you see how you can operate with nothing. How we are very resilient as people.
Exactly. So you are then forced to be dealing with yourself.
100%.
Which we all nowadays try to avoid so easily because we've all this distractions and life happens and it's also conventional. And again, Jolene, it ties back to our theme, right?
exactly.
Where you do find that actually being authentically yourself is so weird nowadays, right? It's unconventional. It's frowned upon. And here you are with this amazing achievement and goosebump stories.
I know.
Yeah.
So, Johann, the one thing you mentioned earlier was you saw personal growth within yourself. What is the one takeout that you can take from that, from a personal growth perspective?
Look, I think me and my wife actually had a chat the other day. I said to her, it's actually after that, it's funny how my mind changed. I need to. Sometimes and I think she can see it as well. You kind of need to find yourself again, and because let me just put it that, and I'll finish that. What I've just said, I'll finish that now. But let me just put it like this: is when you are in these experiences, it's always how you let it change you. And I literally took this experience for it to change me. A lot of time things happen, you try to push that away, not for it to affect you. But I really opened myself up to be changed. And I think that's an important lesson as well. But once it changes you, now you need to kind of find yourself again a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the key things that really changed in me, and I see it, and that's why I got great admiration for the two of you, is, and it comes also to why you're doing these things. Let me ask you this question. Where do you grow? Within your comfort zone or outside of your comfort zone?
Oh, completely outside of your comfort zone.
So in the same, you'll answer.
100%. Growth is always when it's uncomfortable.
And you don't always have to go run 250 kilometers to be outside of your comfort zone, But for me, that's what I do. I love to push myself physically. So I did my MBA a few years ago, also to put myself out of my comfort zone. And then I said, let me do something physically to put myself out of my comfort zone, because the longer you're out of your comfort zone, that becomes your new comfort zone.
Exactly.
And that's growth. So this is why I do these things. I think it's very important to be able to look in the mirror and say that, look, I'm a better person than I was last year or even yesterday. And I believe a race like this just gives you that openness in your mind to really push for that.
And I can really attest to that. I think, the guy that I met 3.5, almost 4 years ago, and I think I've said this to you as well, your growth trajectory was incredible.
Thanks.
And, the person you are now is completely different, not in a bad way, in a really good way. So I think everyone can take a page out of that book. Be uncomfortable.
Truly, this is really an amazing race. No pun intended. I mean, this is better than an amazing race. It's really a good story. Also because we know you and we know where you come from, so it's very humbling. Which is really, I think, the biggest thing about you. You're actually a very humble person, which is a good trait to have. So how's life after the race now? I mean, is it the same? I mean, yes, we have routine, we have our normal responsibilities, but you mentioned that something changed. So yes, the body and mind changed, and now you just have to adjust your life to that, or?
Yeah, look, life afterwards, life goes on, and I think that's the biggest thing about experiences is you come back with a different mindset, and then you realize people listen to you for 2 weeks, and then everyone just goes on. and I think that's also the pity about these things, because I think it's important to hold on to these things a lot longer, and because it's got a long-lasting impact. So, but to be very true to you is life does go on.
Yeah.
You're back into your routines. You're back in being the dad, the husband. You're back in just running your 5 kilometers here, doing this, doing that. But that's
7 became 5. Hooray!
But that's why it's important again and I do that. It's important to continuously get things to keep the focus. To keep you focused on bigger things that takes you out of your ordinary life, So I'm doing this T100 race now, but also the 2 comrades that I'll be running in the consecutively, and then I've got a big race that I wanted to do. So I think it's
the 400 kilometer one, just this big race,
and I really try to continuously to get things to. Just to, even in the ordinary life, to still have extraordinary thoughts, And I think it's important. It just gives you that little bit of purpose. Otherwise, you're just back to the mundane stuff, but it is difficult.
You've stole the word out of my mouth, the purpose. So you're trying to find that purpose, essentially, and then evolve and be more than the best person you can be.
I think it goes back to, like, living the best life you possibly can.
100%.
So I have another question, because I know that your kids are very near and dear to you. And I think, on your LinkedIn post, you reference them a lot and what you could actually teach them through all of this. So going through this experience, if you could just share, what is it that you could impart with your kids, but then also anyone who's really going through a tough time, like you did over those like grueling 6 or 7 days in the desert, what advice would you have for your kids and to anyone going through a tough time, irrespective of what it is?
Look, for me, I live by a slogan for many years. And it's a slogan that from high school, it was my slogan, is that, I wasn't made to fit in. I was born to stand out. And I honestly believe that. All of us got a purpose, and this is where it's always the biggest thing for me, everyone on this earth can change a life, can change a person. And and this is my message to my kids, this is a message to everyone, is that even when things aren't going your way, you were made for goodness, honestly. And I'm not saying always that you have to go run 250 kilometers to feel better about yourself, but it's very important. Yeah. It's very important to make sure you push yourself out of those comfort zones, because the moment you're in that for too long, you're actually moving backwards. And it's always important to find that thing and to find that inner drive. Like, I've got great respect for the two of you. To find that inner drive to just keep on growing as a person. Because look at this. Because the world is actually, it's inevitable. You can do anything you want. So that's my advice. We're built for greatness.
Yeah. And tough times don't last, but tough people do.
100%. True. And nothing is as bad as
Nothing is as bad. It's always way worse in your head. Way worse.
Boom.
Yeah. So I just have one more comment, and Johann, I think in its totality, I think it's really amazing. And just from my perspective, I just really want to thank you for sharing this. I really do feel inspired, not to go do a 250-kilometer race, but I do. But I do feel inspired that I can push my own boundaries and I can get through it. So I just want to say thank you very much for sharing and spending the time with us.
Thanks, Julian. Thanks.
It's amazing. I think definitely also it's all these little stories and people's unique truths, right? Where we come together and we keep on building this circle of trust. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it definitely is what it is. Because you've trusted us and our listeners to really share your story because you also want to. It's almost like you can't do 7 days in a desert without sharing your story. That's almost a bit selfish, but always at the right time. For me, I take out of this podcast essentially that, have you ever wondered, how life would be if you had decided not to take a chance, on something risky or a challenge? So let this be, that big aha moment for people to kind of take on that challenge, right?
For sure.
Because the benefits will outweigh the pain.
100%.
He still didn't tell you about how he had to pop his own blisters and stuff, but talking about pain, but yeah.
No, but let me tell you, Sean, I think that's a very important point is success is, there's a world measurement of success and then there's your own measurement of success. And I just think it's very important that the world has this thing on what is success looking like. But I think if you can understand what success looks like for you, that is really when you really start finding the joy, because it's not always in the material things, but it's the real success is when you achieve something that is bigger than you, whatever it is. And that's where you want to be. That's where you want to be honest. And that's how you grow, and that's how you wake up positive and passionate every day.
Exactly, and it's true.
It's true, and it's real, and it doesn't go away. It's not something that just fades. It's always there. So yeah.
So very briefly on a lighter note, here's a question: if you have to pick one race, I've done some research, so maybe one day I'll do all three of them.
Okay.
But which one will you pick? There's one, the Midnight Run in Norway.
Okay.
Entire day daylight.
All right.
The Loch Ness in Scotland.
Okay.
Or the Kauai in Hawaii.
The Kauai in Hawaii.
What is the distances? That's why.
Nothing for you. They're all 41.2 kilometers. They're all marathons.
I'll do the Hawaii. I can just think about the after party. Yeah, that will be the best.
And you, Jolene?
I mean, I would also do the Hawaii, but I'm just thinking about the pina coladas and the coconuts and stuff.
And the mimosas, right? Yeah. I think I will also then do the one in Hawaii before we leave. For your fantastic story and for joining us.
Fantastic.
We brought you the first ever a Maverick token, right? On our show here.
Okay.
Look at that. We'll show to the camera there. That's for you.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
As our first guest.
Okay.
And then because you are this Iron Man.
In a trophy cabinet.
Thank you so much for your time, Iron Man. You deserve that.
Oh, what a pleasure.
It's really nice having you here. Thank you so much.
It's really amazing. Thank you so much.